This is part 3 of Harold Price's nostalgic photos of airplanes and events in our local area here and at the Nationals. And we're trying to, they're in no specific order because to do this, I got these photos from his daughter Patricia, and there were thousands of them, literally thousands of them to go through. So I tried to make this make a little bit of sense. Harold, of course, was a talented modeler. In many ways, had very unique ideas, retractable landing gear on stunt ships. He was, I think, one of the people that's way ahead of his time, but he also was an avid photographer and luckily took literally thousands of photos that, and I'll give you an example, some people don't know, there's only one photo of the Wright brothers plane flying. There's only one movie of President Kennedy being shot. So that by him documenting those things, Harold has documented a part of my life, maybe a part of your life too. And these photos will bring back, I think they'll bring back some great memories. Now on part 1 and 2, I told some of the story of Harold teaching me how to build wings and spray paint and buff paint. But he was an avid competitor. And this is a rare picture of John DeTavio on the right and Gene Schaefer on the left. Now, Gene was second place at 4 nationals. I think at some point in time, and a lot of people agree, he might have just gotten frustrated. And his daughter, I know he built many little models, and I'll show some of them on this video. And he used to take them flying when they were young like this. We have some pictures of them. And having pictures of things and people and planes and places that you can't go back and relive. We can never go back to this time. Never relive the enthusiasm that people had for model aviation in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. This was a special time. The class I graduated from, when I went from the 8th grade to high school, every single boy in that class had an interest in model planes, and we used to fly in a schoolyard. We used to fly half-A's. The fire department in our town had a dedicated circle in their parking lot for half-A flying. And now, because Harold was an avid photographer, we are blessed with having a lot of pictures of people I know that are no longer with us. And I'm trying to share this. I know a lot of people might be bored. Some of these pictures are black and white, some are color. I've tried to enhance them through the editing program as best I can, but a lot of them are faded. A lot of them are slides that were not well preserved. They were in an open shoebox, the size of a milk crate, by the way. And when Harold's daughter was up at my house, we sat on my porch many hours sifting through them and trying to find things to share with people that go back into this era. This was not like modern model aviation. The difference in model aviation back then, everybody, they put dedicated circles in grocery stores around here. There was a store called Great Eastern Mills. Used to have Wednesday night, you could go fly in their parking lot. They'd mark off the whole parking lot for you with the ropes and stuff. Well, they're not so model friendly now. Maybe they're more drone friendly, I don't know. But I know I love having these old pictures. This, of course, is Harold Price's Bolton Paul Defiant. You don't see it in some of these pictures because they're black and white, but this was an absolutely stunning model. And it spurred my interest in semi-scale models. And when I saw the canopy of this, and I watched him make the canopy from a plaster mold, I was blown away. And I had never seen this. Now, I had never seen it, but we went on to, with Dave Midgley's help, making canopies for our Spitfires and other models. But Harold Price showed me the first one. Now, he's got a lot of pictures of his Crusader. This Crusader was a very unique model. It had retractable gear that were run off an 010 motor. It was published in a magazine. Luckily, we still have pristine copies of it, as well as his daughter Patricia, and Patricia, thank you for donating all these pictures to our cause. Now, this is a fella, he was a member of the Circle Burners, and he was a friend of mine, but I don't remember his name. He was an RC flyer who converted to control line, and then took all these RC models and converted them to control line. Quite a guy. He was a big contributor to the field maintenance and things like that. back in the day. And because I'm so old, I'm going to be 79. I did not remember his name. Now, I love the fact that we have so many pictures of Harold's models. One of the things I feel bad about that in my modeling career, and it goes back a long ways, I never built from scratch one of his models, and I feel bad about that now. I was too busy building twin engine bombers and carbon fiber planes with Midgley and different things, but boy, if I had one model left in my life to build, I would love to build one of his models. But you know what? I'm long in the tooth, and anybody look it up knows what that means. They long in the tooth. That's really something. Anyway, but I am so happy to have these beautiful pictures, and I've enhanced them, I've edited them, and done the best I can. But please keep in mind, Harold had more than one interest in life, and he was making these little models and making O-20 planes, and he made a biplane toward the end of his life. He had many, many interests in modeling. That it just blew me away how he always had something new, something different, something unique, and he always was ready to help you if you needed help painting. Even Eddie Elastic is Larry. I think that's Larry Scarinzi. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's somebody else, but it looks a little bit like Larry. And he always was willing to help people. That influenced the whole rest of my life. And he always had people up at his shop on Friday night eating pizza and painting their planes and doing all kind of cool stuff. So he leaves a legacy behind, and one part of the legacy is these pictures. And I can't tell you how many pictures I still have left to go through. I've been trying to do this and get a video out on a regular basis. So these can be shared by the public. You can share them with other people that might even be in the pictures. And I'm not so sure because I don't know everybody in all the pictures. I know some of them, but not all of them. But I lived through this time I call it the time of the orange stunt ship. You'd go to a meet somewhere and 3/4 of the planes would be orange, and Harold's would stand out like a sore thumb because it wasn't orange. And John DeTavio somehow convinced everybody that orange planes look better up against a light blue sky. I don't know about that, but John's not here to question. I can question him. This looks like Moses Quintana flying. Not sure where it is. It's not the circle burner field. I can tell by the walkway. But Moses Quintana, totally talented guy. And years after coming out of modeling, we were at Flushing one day and he just showed up in a truck and went and talked to Big Jim and myself and everybody. Now, another thing, back in the day, there was a lot of interest in scale models. You see there's a big twin there. In the back is George Gatis's 4-engine plane. And that Avenger, that TBF Avenger, guys used to fly Navy carrier and detail their models out so they could compete in scale. And they would always fly scale at the end of the meet, at the very end. Anyway, some of the people, I don't recognize the planes, but I do have the pictures. This is one of them. Somebody else may recognize it. And I feel bad that I don't recognize everybody. But the time I put into editing thousands of these photos down, and I hope you're enjoying them as much as I did enjoy editing them. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess that when Harold designed and built his Crusader, he probably did something like, and that's why he has these pictures. Went to somewhere where they had a Crusader you could go look at. This, of course, is one of them. And when he came up with the Crusader model, boy, that was something else. This is Lou Walgast in the front. I believe Marty Chicola in the middle. That's Przicki's plane with the blue trim. And in the very back, Lou Dudka. And boy, have I got Lou Dudka stories to share, including the one where I had to go get a dead squirrel out from under his porch or he wouldn't cut me a foam wing. I never forgot Lou. True story. And some of the people like this gentleman, I don't remember his name. I remember seeing these planes. I remember a lot of, but I don't remember his name. But that's all part of being 79 years old. And if you make it to 79, you may have the same problem. You may look at a picture of me and not remember who I am. But the pictures are there. They're a wonderful part of the life that we had in modeling. And it's hard to describe to people how important modeling was back then. It was a major thing. There was just no way to explain it to people, how enthusiastic and how excited people got People would come in when we had the circle burner contest. They'd fill up the parking lot with people came with spectators, with kids. They wanted to see the planes fly. And this is George Gates's, I call it the Bomber. I always call these things the Bomber. We even have one. I ride my motorcycles to the Bomber all the time. This plane, he flew at every scale meet. This plane flew way better than most of the scale models. But again, George Gates was into scale. I believe he flew some other events, but he really was a great scale flyer. And again, here's somebody, I remember the plane. I don't remember the person's name. I'm sorry. I apologize for not being a little bit more of a historian, but I've never been really concerned with remembering too many things. I just rather have the pictures and some video. Another thing you had to think about back then, how almost everybody, young, teenage, young men, had some interest in aviation. Airports were open to the public. You could walk up in Teterboro Airport, you could walk up to Arthur Godfrey's plane, and they'd let you walk inside. Go to Peterborough Airport now, it's like a fortress. If they catch you taking a picture, they come out and scream at you. But interest in aviation during this time, the time that I was growing up, people loved model airplanes. It was a gigantic thing to win a model airplane contest. I remember the first time I won a trophy, and I was so excited, and I'd show all my neighbors and run around, and I hung on to that trophy for 20 years. Again, it was a different time, a different era. Now we have a world of drones, computers. Young kids are certainly not as interested as they were back then. But every once in a while you find somebody that really loves model aviation, and it's really nice that we have some people left. And when you go to the meetups, there's still some people flying. Now, back then too, another thing, a lot of people, if you don't go way back, you don't realize the scale models of the time, that was a big thing. Scale modeling was a giant part of model aviation. Whether you went to the nationals or you went to a local contest, they always had that thing that at the end of the contest, they flew to scale models. And I think they did it because most people stayed around to see the scale models. That was the whole thing in a nutshell. So, and I remember some of these twin engine planes, the scale ones. And later on in life, I built my A-26. I built 3 twin engine planes, a Tiger Cat, a B-25, and an A-26. And maybe the seed was planted way back then. I don't know. But I always stayed around to watch them. Navy Carrier. I had several Navy Carrier planes, and I was never real good at it. I used to fly into the grass and crash into the end of the deck. It's a good thing the Navy never let me fly one of their real planes. We might have both been disappointed. But it was a great event. I'm not sure they still even have it now. They had it the last time I was at Brodax, which is 10, 12 years ago. Again, I don't remember the person's name. I recognize the face, but I don't remember the name. And boy, that's on me, and I wish I did. I'm sorry, and I apologize. Now, I spend an incredible amount of time getting these pictures sorted. And thank you again, Patty, and thank you to her son who put them on a digital chip. And this looks like Dan Banjock, by the way. And I don't think it is, but maybe it is, and I don't even know it. Dan's incognito here. Anyway, back to the pictures. To me, and this is something really significant to me, somewhere between 1986, Harold Price passed away in 86, and now, these pictures sat in a milk crate in Florida. And they might have been thrown out or done away with, or I don't even think Patty had a big interest in them. We're going through them and making copies and stuff. But now, thanks to her effort coming up to my house and spending that day with me on the porch, I have a lot of great memories, and I'm able to share them with you. But what's even better, you're able to share them with everybody. It doesn't cost a penny. Thank you, YouTube. I think it's just wonderful. And I look at this picture, I remember that plane, and I think of other things that I just, in my mind, it's like I go back in time and I can smell the grass here. Now, Eddie Elastic for sure was one of the top flyers at the time. If you look in the back, you see that Studebaker? That fella, that RC fella, that was his Studebaker. I can't remember his name. And it looks like that was Harold's car, that station wagon off to the right. But that's Eddie's second Impala, a light green one. And I remember when he painted that, we used to give him a hard time about, you copied Steve Woolley's Argus. Oh. I remember this plane flying. Boy, oh boy, was this a detailed model? This was the kind of plane you never, ever forget. And because I grew up on Long Island, part of my childhood, these were flying overhead all the time, the boxcars. They were very common to look up and see a boxcar. Now, at the Nationals, for people that have never been to a National, and Harold has hundreds of pictures like this. I don't even know. I'm going to share a couple of them, because this is what it was like going to the Nationals. And I remember, as a kid, we didn't go to sleep at night. We were in the Navy barracks, and we couldn't sleep. There's just too many things. We'd walk up and down and see free flights, and there's carrier planes and RC planes. And to have this to be part of your childhood, stay on a Navy base, holy mackerel, was this a big part of my life. And it was a whole week. That was a week of being on a Navy base. It was just, you couldn't describe it to somebody who had not lived through that. Now, sadly, that has evolved into the Nationals they have at Muncie, a whole different thing than being on a Navy National with the Navy people running the thing. Just different, just totally different. Larry Scarinzi flying his beautiful triple-tailed, I call it the devil plane. I always thought this was the coolest of cool planes. Everything was a point. If you ever picked it up, it hooked on your shirt, your button, your everything. It just was like a porcupine. Very, very, very detrited, very cool plane, super finish, and I do remember seeing him fly it many, many times in real life. I wish I remembered this gentleman's name. I remember the face. I look in the background and I see other people that I think, oh, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. But again, if we didn't have these pictures, or if they were still in a milk crate in Florida and never got onto YouTube, they're lost forever. And all of the things, all of the effort Harold put into taking these pictures and documenting these things. Here's a JD Falcon getting fueled up and ready to go. So I have to thank Harold, number one, for shooting the pictures, and for Patricia, who only found me because I posted the original Harold Price video, and we got in touch. She arranged to bring them up here. Her son arranged to put them on a chip so I could edit them. And without that effort, these would be truly lost forever. Now, there even was a few pictures of me back then, and Harold had taken some pictures of me and several of my planes. And the plane I refinished, his Valkyrie that was wrecked, and we rebuilt it for the 62 Nats. And that's a picture I am going to try to have my good friend John Pothier super enhance this and bring it up to, I know he can do it, and I'm looking forward to that as another project. But guys, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. I really hope you did enjoy it. I put a lot of effort into it. And again, thanks for sharing the world of stunt that we all live in or have lived in. And thanks so much for watching.